Orange team.
Hey guys, I'm Mike.
I'm Bob.
I'm Andrew.
And this is the Board Game Rundown. Yes. And today we are here to review Heat, Pedal to the Metal. Rev it up. Rev it up, boys. We're going to be managing our Heat and playing Heat, Pedal to the Metal. This is a racing game for 1 to 6 players. Plays in about an hour. This is racing with some hand management, some lots of fun tactical card play decisions. We're going to kind of do a sample turn as opposed to like a general overview of the game, because the turn's pretty simple, and by doing a sample turn, you'll have a pretty good idea of how this game plays. Before we jump into it, Bob, if people like our videos, what should they be doing at home?
You should probably like, subscribe, ring the bell, share the videos, and watch for all. We're giving away games all the time, so watch for our giveaways. Make sure you're commenting on those videos. And,
Commenting, yes.
And get your friends to comment, because the more entries that you can get in your group, the more odds you have
if
of winning.
you have friends.
Sorry.
We're going to jump right into the gameplay of this game, okay?
So as you can see really quick, I'm going to let you jump in, Mike, but Bob actually has the step order on the bottom of your screen. You can see it in that yellow, what do you even call that?
Right there?
Yeah, it's a track, but it's like a dashboard. It's
It is a dashboard.
Those are the nine very easy to do steps of the game, and some of them you have to do, some of them it's optional. But now we're good. Take it away, Mike.
Yep, so we're going to do these steps in order. Those first 2 steps have an exclamation point underneath them that tells you that these are mandatory steps, okay? The first thing that happens is you are going to shuffle your deck. You're going to put 6 heat cards in your engine, which is the middle of the board. Bob doesn't have his 6 heat cards in his engine. Now he does. Draw yourself 7 cards.
Oh, yeah.
Then we are going to shift gears, okay? You can shift 1 gear for free. We all start in first gear. So we could all shift a 2nd gear for free, or we could pay a heat to shift 2 gears and go into 3rd gear.
Now, Mike, I have 2 questions. When you say add a heat, what does that mean?
When you pay heat, you have to pay heat from your engine, and it goes into your discard pile, which means you have to have heat cards already in your engine.
Yep.
There's a lot of different ways to spend heat, and we'll go over those as we get to them in these steps, okay? So all of us will choose the gear that we want to start off in. I'm going to go ahead and spin that heat to jump into 3rd gear.
Got a lot of straightaway coming up here. So.
Mike mentioned going into different gears. Based on your gear, that's how many cards and this is what I like about this, you have to play that many cards from your hand based on what gear you're in. So if you're rounding a bend, which we'll get to later, if you're in 4th gear and you're forced to play a lot of cards, something bad could happen.
Spinning out.
So I'm going to go into 2nd gear. I'm going to just play it.
Play it safe?
Play it safe.
Yep, because corners force you to slow down, and we'll jump into that. So now we're on to step 2, which is mandatory. We all do this simultaneously, so shifting and choosing your cards same time. Now you're just going to pick the cards equal to the gear.
Face down.
I've got my 3 cards.
I've got my 2, which I'm going to put on the board, which Mike
got
loves.
his. Great. All right. Now we can go ahead and reveal those cards. Now we're going to resolve these cards, which is step 3. This is mandatory. Now we have multiple steps that we're going to do in turn order. If you look at the board, I'm actually in first place. There's 2 ways to know that. 1, I'm in the 1 spot. But number 2, since me and Bob are on the same spot, I'm closer to what's called the race line. That's the thick white line here. Whoever's on the race line is always considered in first.
Right.
So I'm ahead of Bob. I'm in pole position. Okay. So now I'm going to resolve my 3 cards. First, I've got 6 speed. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
You're in
this
first place, though.
is called
You move to the
race line. So I automatically move to the race line since I got there first. Now I've got a speed card. Now I'm going to draw cards out of my deck until I or these are stress cards. Did I call it a speed
You call
card?
it a speed card. It's a stress card.
Then
I call them a
draw,
boost card because it feels like you're
don't
boosting.
call it a
but we
boost
can't
because
call
that's
it a boost.
different
That's a different
concept.
card, yeah.
So we're going to draw cards until we pull one that has this speedometer on it. That gives us 2 more. Let's say I went ahead and I was drawing cards like this, for example. It doesn't have that speed icon. It would go to my discard. Now, that may happen with some of these other guys' turns. So my turn is now over.
Okay.
Now
Me.
it is Bob's turn.
Yep. So I have 9 total right
So
here.
actually,
We'll
I
add
should,
that up.
I should be. Bob is yellow.
Second,
Sorry,
One,
yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Bob's already in the lead. Very fitting.
I also have one of those quick cards there. Stress cards. I will add a 3 because it has the speedometer right there.
1,
So
2,
3 more.
3, right before
Right
the
up to
corner,
the corner.
which we'll show you in a second,
Perfect.
which was a great turn for him.
All right, so I have 9 just vanilla,
1,
nothing.
2, 3,
9
4,
vanilla
5,
speed.
6, 7, 8, 9.
Ooh.
Gosh dang it.
I can't wait to talk about this
So,
one.
and you did that
perfect.
in second gear, correct?
That is in second gear, yep.
Okay.
Okay.
After
now,
that-
that we've all resolved our speed cards,
Which was step 3.
now we go in order of turn. So it will start with, we see who is in last.
Yep.
The last place player right now is now Andrew, okay? If you look at step 4 is find out who is in last. They're going to get some additional benefits, okay? Andrew now has access to 1 cooldown and 1 adrenaline, which he can use at any time between step 3 and step 6, okay? So, Andrew, would you like to use your adrenaline, which gives you 1 additional movement?
So even though I would be passing up Mike to get into second place here, I'm not going to be using that adrenaline for a future
Because
step.
he's going to get slipstreaming in step 6. So we'll show you that when we get to step 6.
Slingshot, shake.
And
Okay.
bake.
Boom. Oh my gosh. It's shake and bake, and I helped. Okay, so now, isn't that how that works?
Something like that, yeah.
I forget. That's an 80s commercial. We're old.
I'm hopped up on Mountain Dew.
There's a cougar in the back seat.
Now we're having fun. This is Board Game Rundown. That's what we do. All right, step 5. If you have access to cooldown, you may use it now.
Right.
So this is how you get heat
Heat.
cards out of your deck
Out of your
and
deck.
back into your engine. Because here's what's happening. Every time you spend heat, it comes out of your engine. It goes into your discard pile. And of course, when your draw pile runs out, much like a deck builder, you're going to shuffle your discard and keep redrawing a hand of 7 every time.
Yep.
Heat cards, you can't play. It's a dead card,
card
in
in your
your
hand.
And it
hand.
stays in your hand.
And it's stuck.
yeah, it
Yep.
clogs
Until
up
you
your hand.
Cool it down and put it back into your
So
engine.
you have to use cooldown to get those heat cards out of your hand and back into your engine so you can spend them.
Yep.
I don't have any cooldown. Andrew is in last place. He has a free cooldown. Plus,
And I'm in
Andrew is
second
in
gear.
second gear. So he technically has 2 cooldown.
Which is really cool because, like, it makes sense that my engine is cool if I'm in second gear versus you two who are in third gear.
gear.
You have no.
It's not cooling down.
Yeah, it's not cooling
We're
down.
going.
It's revving up.
We're revving it up.
If you're in first gear, you have 3 of those temperature symbols that allow you to cool
Yeah,
down
3
your engine.
cooldowns. Yeah.
Which is really important if your hand starts to get clogged full of heat cards.
Yes.
But I have no heat cards in my hand because you only start with 1 innately in your deck.
In your whole deck.
Yeah. So I've got these. There's no red cards, as you can see here. And I've got no use for it.
Yep.
So I'm ready to go on to the next step. So I would just pass.
Correct.
'Kay.
Also, at this step, people will have the opportunity to boost. That's a little plus sign
Starting
symbol on
with
there.
Bob.
Starting with the person in the lead.
So now Bob can spend a heat from his engine into his discard to pull cards from the top of his deck until he reveals a speedometer
It works
card.
just like as if I was playing one of those stress cards
Yep.
that we played at the beginning. But being right on the cusp of the curve there, I don't want to add any more speed because what's going to happen is with this little speed dial here is if I cross that line, I'm going to have to reconcile my total speed with what that number is. Anything over that number, I'm going to have to pay heat for. And if I can't pay that heat, I'm going to have to spin out and be reset back. So
And
I'm going to
spinning
stop.
out is
It's not so good.
I think we'll do that in more detail on step 7.
Sure.
So that is coming up. So now Bob is not boosting.
Staying.
So now it is Andrew. Do you want to boost? You're not going to boost, are you?
well, it would be
You're
you
next.
because
Oh,
you're next.
I'm on the
second.
race.
You're
Oh
on the
yeah,
race
that's
line.
true. So I would boost. So I would take a heat out of my engine,
Yep.
stick it in my discard pile. Now I'm going to draw cards out of my deck. There is a speedometer. So I go up 1 spot. Now, Andrew, do you want to boost?
He does.
So since I can't slipstream next to Mike, there's 2 ways you can slipstream, okay? Either you're right next to a car and you approach it,
Like that.
or you approach it from behind,
Or like that.
which allows you to pass by. So since I don't meet any of those 2 requirements, I'm gonna boost.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take some heat from my engine. I'm gonna speed up my car. I'm gonna draw a card from my deck. And I also drew a 1.
Nice.
Fantastic. So I go right next to Mike, which
Where you want to be.
now that we're on step 7,
Yep. Or
or
step,
step
6.
6, sorry.
So step
Do you want to
6.
pull that up there, Bob?
Now we are going to go into slipstreaming. Okay. So Bob can't slipstream. There's nobody next to him or behind him. These cars are next to each other. So if a car stops behind or next to another car, it'll slipstream. That's Andrew here. He optionally can slipstream 2 spots. I don't see why he wouldn't. So he'd go 1, 2
Into second place.
into second place. Okay. So that's the end of slipstreaming. Now, step 7 is corner check for speed. Let's say Bob had zoomed past this corner. Okay.
And you can't really see it, but this is a thick line to indicate that
right
this is a
here.
turn. Yeah.
And this is the speed required or the speed check through that corner. Let's say Bob actually had 9 speed going into this corner and he passed this. Bob would have to pay heat out of his engine for his speed minus the corner check. So, for example, he'd actually have to pay 2 heat out of his engine into his discard pile. If he doesn't have enough heat to pay for that, he actually spins out, which is terrible. You go back to the spot before the corner. You have to shift all the way down to first gear. You have to pay all the heat cards you have. And
all
it's
of your heat going into your deck.
all of
is
your heat
not
going
good.
into your
Not good.
discard pile, plugging up your hand, later having to use cooldown to dump them back into your engine. Not good. You don't want to fly around corners.
Yeah.
Okay. After speed check, then we've got that trash can. Trash can means you can discard any of the cards that you still have in your hand. Then,
Except for heat cards and stress cards.
good
cards,
catch.
yeah.
You cannot discard those heat cards. That would be too easy.
Yep.
They're plugging your hand. You also can't discard those stress cards, which is a
Stressful.
momentary lapse in your concentration as you're speeding around the track, and they give you unpredictable results because those little stress cards,
1 to
odometer
4.
cards, go 1 to 4. So you don't always know what you're going to pull, but you know the variation, which is super intriguing. So out of that hand, you decide what you want to keep and what you want to discard. You put those in your discard pile.
By the
then
way,
you're
Mike, you
drawing back up to
You are
7.
still in third gear. You brought yourself down to 1 to show the example.
Yeah. So I'd stay there.
Oh, we're staying in
Then-
third here on this turn.
Yeah. I want you to spin out
Once
again.
we're back up to 7, then we go back to step 1. We reshift our gears, and then we play cards equals to the number of gears. We do that on this board. Andrew, if you'll point at the top left of this board, there's a 2.
There,
You
yep.
do 2 laps around this board. If you also look below it, it says everybody starts with 6 heat in their engine, and below it, everybody starts with 3 stress cards in their deck. There are 2 double-sided boards for this game, so that can change.
4 maps.
We played the other side of this board last night. It has a France board, and the France board started with 9 heat.
And 3 laps.
And 3 laps.
Yep.
It was a shorter
track.
board. It had one super long straightaway.
That stretch was
That was pretty
sick.
cool. Like
That was
36
Because you're just 4th gear, just
Yeah.
dumping all your cards.
down.
You're
Yeah.
discarding all of your ones because you just want to draw.
You wanna fly.
You want to fly.
Yep.
Just leave everybody else
Yeah.
in the dust.
In the dust. So yeah, this one
basic turn.
little bit of a longer map. You got 1, 2, 3, 4 corners. The one last night only had 3 corners. So yeah, this like I said, super.
Yeah,
They were
long
quick
span.
though. Those corners
Yeah.
came on really fast. Yeah.
one on top of the other, and then a
So-
long straightaway.
That's just the base game. Real quick, let's talk about the modules because that adds. We had to play the modules. We played this twice last night.
Yep.
Because everyone says when you start adding the modules, that's where this game starts to shine. And I think we'd all agree that that is where this game
Well,
starts
actually, I think
to
it's where it
shine.
started to rain.
Because one of them is a weather module. So
Yes.
before the race starts, you randomly draw one of these weather modules. It goes up there. Okay? Now, that is
Actually, toss that over there just so they can see what it is.
Sure. So weather module. That on the left, you'll see you're starting with an extra stress card in your deck.
Because raining is stressful.
Yeah.
Driving
It is
fast
stressful.
in the rain is
Yeah, yeah.
stressful. Yes.
Right. White knuckling around all the turns. Okay. Then also there's that section there at the bottom right that's going to apply to these road condition tiles. So around the board, you've got these little tents. So what you do is you randomly draw these road condition tokens and you place one around each spot or each tent around the board like so.
Single-sided.
These are drawn randomly. Now these road conditions will affect sectors of the map. A sector is from this corner all the way to this corner. This corner all the way to that corner.
Turn to turn, essentially.
Turn to turn. So like
physical
that.
turn, not turn.
Now, that weather card that we drew, that one. That one says wherever there's a road condition token, like this one, we're going to get the benefit of the
Benefit or boon?
of the weather condition, which means in this section from here to that corner, you get 1 extra slipstream in that sector. Okay?
Instead of just passing 2,
Plus 2.
if you're
Plus
behind
2.
or next to
Yeah.
somebody,
Couldn't
you would
read it
go
very
by
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4.
So
You'd go 4.
So now you got extra slipstream. This one means the speed around the very next corner, this drops by 1. So now the speed check for the corner is only 6.
Got to slow down a little bit more.
You got some where you got to pay extra heat. You got some where you can boost on your turn, but you don't pay heat, which is nice. So that's one of the modules. The other module that we added, I think, is
Much
just
cooler.
fantastic.
and it's better.
And it
I
adds...
think it's a better module.
They're like
got 'em.
upgrades.
You got 'em right there.
Asymmetrical upgrades.
No, those are brown.
No, there's look.
No, he's looking for the black ones that we had last night.
I didn't see the black ones in there.
Literally. What? Yeah, right here. Look.
Oh, okay. Those are brown ones.
No, they are.
They're brown.
What does that
Where's
mean? They're
black
brown. What do you mean they're brown?
That's brown.
Yeah, but what does that mean?
These
That's
are-
just the.
Those aren't the upgrades that we used, is what I'm getting at. Because I don't know what these are. There's the black upgrades. Great.
There you go.
Okay.
What are the? Hey.
These must be the.
Well, good thing I want to play
advanced-
this game more because I want to learn what
must
all
be
of these
the
cards do.
advanced upgrades, which we didn't use. We used the starting upgrades.
Okay.
So, with the starting upgrades, usually everybody starts with the same 3 upgrade cards. Those upgrade cards are a heat, a 0,
and a 5.
and a 5, which apparently I don't have in this deck. Either way.
Don't sweat it. Move forward.
It might be in the
okay,
box.
Whatever.
We're moving forward.
Oh, it's over here. So those are your 3 starting upgrade cards. When you play with the variant, you shuffle all these basic upgrades. You're going to deal 1 card per number of players plus 3. So in a 3-player game, we deal out 5 of these. Now, in reverse turn
3
order,
plus 3 is
What?
6.
What?
Good at racing, bad at math.
Juicy.
What did I say? Did I say 3 plus 3?
Bob and I
Yeah.
look at each other.
Oh, whoops. Okay.
Is it 3 plus 2?
We locked eyes. We
1 per
shake
player
and
plus
bake right
2?
there.
Know what I'm thinking and saying the wrong thing.
Okay.
Okay. So, reverse turn order, we're going to draft these starting upgrades or these basic upgrades, and they're going to replace our standard upgrades. So last player, Bob, would get first dibs. He drafts a card. Then Andrew gets to pick. He takes a card. Then the person in the pole position drafts a card. All of these get wiped. We bring out a whole new market of 5 cards. Then the person in pole position gets first dibs.
8?
So it's a snake draft. So it's last player first, first player last, then last player first, first player last. So snake draft.
Yeah, it's a snake draft. But you get to customize your car. You get to that's the whole point of the thing.
3
you get to customize
cards to change out your starting upgrades, and these upgrades are super cool and feel very asymmetric.
Yeah, there's a lot.
You can pick your gameplay just by this draft, which is fantastic.
Like my deck yesterday, I intentionally built tires that allowed me to get rid of heat cards.
Right. Cool down without having downshift.
I remember the
Some of
first
those on the
first
green
time I
screen.
did that,
There's a bunch of monitors.
I just flew past a corner, and you guys were like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm putting all of my heat cards into my discard because I had the cards that could just completely dump
'em back out
all of
again.
my heat," and it resulted in a
Bob, I was
nice
going to
victory.
say, if you can read those cards easier than me, go ahead and tell them what those cards do.
So like these ones here will still give you the amount of speed that is listed on them. Some of them have the what they call it, the refresh symbol on there.
Yeah.
So after you play it, you can put it back on top of your deck when you're
Those
done.
are great.
Some of them will add speed values. So if you go around a turn, it's going to increase the number on the
So speed check goes
speed check
higher.
there. Extra slipstream, and then like Andrew was saying, some of them will offer you cooldowns without having to be downshifted into it. Like your tires cool faster. Is the type of tires they are.
Again, allowing you to take heat cards out of your hand and put them back into your engine.
Right. So that you can then go around corners faster and then put them back into your deck again.
and there's so much more.
Yeah,
like
there's
they
a
have
ton of. He just put a bunch of cards up there. We didn't see half those cards. Like
Yeah.
turbochargers.
Yeah, I was
never
shocked that there
saw
was
them.
an 8. Yeah,
that was awesome.
That's all of
wings,
the.
that's a
That's the
ton.
deck of basic
Yeah.
upgrades.
Some copies, but still.
Yeah, there's
Where's
still a
the
few
brown
doubles.
deck that we were
Right in
holding
front of
The
you.
one
for
that
a
you were
second?
complaining about, it's right there.
So here's the brown advanced upgrade cards that we haven't seen any of these.
And there's like a competitive tournament mode, which is
There's a
there's so many
tournament mode.
things that this game provides.
There's a championship mode. This game's apparently set in the 60s when Formula One racing really started to take off. And you play a championship from 1961, 62, and 63. Whoever finishes first, second, or third goes up this kind of like leaderboard up there. And then after 3 races, you get points based on how you placed. That's pretty much
basically
all of it. I mean, the book,
basically.
it's
Nice
got a
shape.
basic book, and
Basic
then
book shape,
it
I like it.
has an additional book for all of that advanced play stuff, the modules, and the championship system. But I think we can go more into that stuff when we get into components.
Which I think
I think we're ready.
be ready for
to dive
components.
into
Yeah, components.
Colossally, that's Vansel. This could change and will change the World Championship.
All right, so Andrew, why don't you go ahead and start on what you liked about these components?
Well, that's inferring that I liked things about these components. Now,
Some
the
things we
hard
do, some
thing
things we
is this is a Days of Wonder game. So, I mean, they're coming from money, right? Ticket to Ride, that's their
5
that's their
tribes.
flagship, but they've got 5 tribes. They've got a lot of games that generate them a lot of money. So, with that mentality, with Heat, they probably said, well, we'll release this new title. We won't spend a lot of money on the components. And honestly, I gotta be frank with you. Like, the components, I don't think are
Mind blowing.
mind blowing. The cards are linen finish, but it sure as hell does not feel like a linen finish card. It definitely feels.
I feel like as much as you're going to do some shuffling, you're probably going to want to
Sleeve these cards,
which are an awkward shape.
which are a smaller than
I think it's a
playing
Euro
card.
kind of
yeah,
shape, maybe.
Euro standard or something like
Maybe,
that.
yeah.
The board is fine. The
Little
the
mini
cars
cars are cool.
See, that's where I disagree with you. I just
Really?
I think they're
I think they look neat.
They
They
look-
look at the car on the box.
sure, and that's fair. The storage container is really good. It's not one of those like you just throw everything in there like Terraforming Mars. It looks good. They've got the little circles right there that you can see. You put the little stick shifts, which I gotta say, the stick shift is a little.
Cars.
It's just cheap.
Dual layer player board would have been nice for the stick shifter to kind of like stick around and not move.
But then
that's
it would be
okay.
a dual layered player board for one piece.
Yes.
Which doesn't make it worth it.
Yes, it does. It's always worth it.
You know what would be cool is if it were like you slide it in and then you can move it up and down in terms of. Sure. But I'm going way over the top here. I see what they did here. They are giving a new title a chance. It's been I've never seen a game on the hotness for so long. This game is holding attention so well, and hopefully Days of Wonder sees this and makes a little bit nicer components. With that said,
like Ticket to Ride, they're going to wait like 7 years, 10 years.
Yeah, like a 15-year anniversary for Heat.
Mm-hmm.
But don't let that detract from what the game brings. Like you're purchasing an idea at the end of the day, and I came into this thinking, no way it's going to beat my Camel Up, because my Camel Up is a game I'm bringing to every party game, and I'm showing my friends. We're always going to laugh and have a good time. This stepped into the ring against some of my favorite racing games, and yeah, sure, the components, like the board, our boards here, these are non-linen. They're very flimsy. They're going to fray on the corners. But the idea of Heat is fantastic. And the artwork is not the same as quality of components, because the artwork is really cool. It's got that retro, like you said, that early Formula One.
Almost reminds me of a Speed Racer type of.
It's very cool. The artwork is very well done. I just think the components are standard.
Okay.
Especially for Days of Wonder.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, there's nothing like over the top with the components. I thought the cars were kind of neat.
Sure.
I think they look cool.
We can agree to disagree.
Sure.
There.
Yeah, that's just an opinion thing. One of the things that I did really appreciate is before every turn, they've got a countdown of numbered spaces. So basically, how many spaces you've got before you're coming into that turn. So like, okay,
so you're not always doing
12.
math.
Yeah, so I'm at that 12. So there's 12 spaces before that turn. So I know how many spots, how many cards I can list or put down to try to get me right up to that curve without going around it and spinning out. Like I appreciated that. It took me a couple turns to realize that that's what that was.
It makes it really easy to count just how far you
and you're not always trying to count on. Yeah, just do the math. It's super easy. I really liked all these upgrade cards. I'm curious to see a lot more of those, because there's what I was getting was take some cards out of your discard pile, put them back into your deck, and I was like, oh yeah,
so many different
stacking it full of my
ways to
fours.
play.
Yeah, the 4 boards is nice that it comes with 4 different options. Of the track,
so many possibilities for expansions. The car expansions, map expansions.
Yeah, say the box is 8-player ready, so there's already 2 extra slots for cards, 2 extra slots for gears, and for player decks.
Show them the box real quick on the green screen. Yeah. We were putting the game away last night, and we're like, "Where's the other stick ships? We're missing two." And we're like, "Oh, they're already planning expansions for this." Yeah.
So I appreciate that. One of the things that was we had a little bit of a hard time with. I wish the sectors and where these little tents were applied to a little bit better, because it was a little bit why is this
there was one
engine burn in the middle?
Another.
And we had to look for this little door, and that's how I figured out what side it was referring to. So that was a little ambiguous.
Sure.
But I really enjoyed the balance of adding the heat to your deck to do some things, and then all of a sudden I have too much heat now, so I'm gonna spend one more heat to downshift into first gear for a turn, drop all that heat, and then add a heat to shift back up again. It was really
final
neat
thoughts,
to,
Bob.
yeah,
Final thoughts,
sorry,
not
sorry.
components.
It's components. Yeah. But as far as components though, like they were saying, the linen finish. We shuffled a lot, so while it's fine now, I think after a year or two of playing this steadily, you'll definitely see the wear on these. So you're probably going to want to sleeve those.
Mike, what about you?
Yeah, I'm not a sleever, and it's rare that I play games enough that I'll see a ton of card wear. Yeah. But I don't know, this one.
This is going to get a lot of plays. I could
see this playing it a lot. You may find me sleeving this game.
This is now
not a sleever.
Game 1 of the board game night, the warm-up game.
Telling you. So
gotta heat things up.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the art on the cards. Makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
I mean, the heat cards, that art, pretty basic, but it doesn't detract from the game. I think the iconography on the board with all of the steps is really good.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they could have done a cardboard player board instead of card stock.
Not square corners here to get a ding on yours.
Yeah, I got no complaints really with that. It would have added to the cost potentially. I love all of the content that they included. They could have put some of these advanced upgrades in an expansion, and they didn't. It's part of the base game. The championship module, this garage module.
They did not have to do the
this winter
championship one.
condition,
Yeah.
the weather condition module, all part of the base game. Thank you for not monetizing that out into multiple expansions.
Right.
Yeah.
The 8-player turning into an expansion later, fine with that
fine.
because
It's like
you
starts- it's like
included
Scythe.
this extra stuff.
Scythe included, what was it, 6 at the, or no, was it 5 at the base and then
Went
2
up to
more?
7.
Like, that's totally fine.
Yeah, so I like the extra boards included. To go into the rule book a little bit, I
don't look at it
do.
really.
Bob likes the
little bit. I
shape
do like the shape.
naturally. I thought it was very clear. It's very easy to learn. It's
Short
only
paragraphs.
7 pages.
Short paragraphs.
Very quick paragraphs for how you play and breaking down each step. Then you've got a whole booklet that goes into advanced play, which is the modules, the championship system. There's one little beef I had about the explanation of the garage module, and I'll explain that beef by just reading what they say about these cards. Tires. It is about grip through width and durability. These cards allow you to go faster on corners or sacrifice the grip for a lot of cooldown. Okay, what's that mean?
Yeah, thanks for explaining it, but
Yeah.
What
That's the thematic thing of what it does. but
Cool.
not how it
That's
functions in
neat.
the game.
what's that mean?
Yeah.
Now, to figure out what that means, you go to the back of the rule book where all of the icons are on those upgrade cards. Now you have to combine, okay, some of these have optional systems and some of these have mandatory, and then you'll suss out from these icons
Yeah.
what those upgrade cards do.
they could have saved a page with the descriptions.
Now, I still like having icons on the back of the rule
Oh,
book.
yeah, it's always
Every game should do that, especially if you don't have a player aid, which this game doesn't need. But if you've got these like thematic paragraph explanations of what a card does, why not just tell me what it does right. there?
You don't
So,
need the that little spiel about the tires. Yeah,
a thematic
the tires.
explanation of, oh, what's RPM? Oh, you're revving it up. Oh, cool. When played at key moments, those cards make it easier for you to accelerate past opponents. But what's that mean? That's my only complaint about this rule book. That's all. But otherwise, it was super easy to learn out of the book. I don't think the components are bad. It's not a deluxeified edition. But yeah, you might want to sleeve cards.
They're not going to need the book. They already watched our how to play like at the beginning.
Oh, right. Yeah, you're done.
so you're
That's
good.
it. Like,
Yeah.
you know how to play now. It's
Golden.
that simple.
Yeah.
So, guys, anything else to add on components?
Not for components, no.
Cool.
Final thoughts.
Let's go ahead and jump into those final thoughts.
I think you've done, well, what I can only say is a very good job. Well done, son.
Okay, guys, final thoughts time. Andrew, tell us what you think of Heat Pedal to the Metal.
So I played the base game. Loved it. I typically don't like playing games where they say like, "Oh, the game spices up when you play the
expansion,
the
modules,
expansion
yeah.
variants and all that." But I wanted to play the expansion module immediately. I wanted to play the game again, and if I play a game again, if I want to play a game again, and then I want to buy the game the next day, this is a freaking winner.
Yeah.
And that's why I complain about the components, is because like this game is going to come out a lot. This is the, hey, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming over. We're going to start with Heat. At least for this year. Like that's what I want to do. I want to start with Heat.
Great warm-up game.
It's a great game. Besides the quality, sure. Days of Wonder, shame. You should have seen that this was
You
a
got
winner.
some deep pockets.
You should have seen that this was a winner. You've got deeper pockets than the stuff Bob is okay with, but I've got some gripes about. But with that said, I love Heat. I thought it was not worthy of the hotness on BGG for so long. It's a great game.
Yes, this has been number one on the
Yeah.
hotness for a solid month now.
Right.
The heat,
And-
the heatness.
Yeah, and so the hotness is heat. The heat is hotness. So yeah, by the way, I bought this copy. This is not a review copy. We're not obligated to review this. We wanted to. So,
Yeah.
and I love racing games.
We've been
so I went
trying
out
to get
and
this
bought it.
game for a while, right?
Well, I've been looking at it and debating if I wanted to buy it, and I'm like, okay, it's been too hot for too long. Let's get this in my collection and spit this review out. So, Bob, final thoughts?
Yeah, I enjoyed the game. It was a lot of fun to try to like game the system and play. Like there's one time where like I put my cars down and Andrew's like, wait a minute, is he gonna go around that corner or is he gonna like try to go slow and get behind me and slingshot past me? Like what's he trying to do? And like so I always enjoy those types of like player versus player, like reading them and trying to gauge what are they actually gonna do. Like, man, he's playing 3 cards. Does he have 3 low cards? Or is he gonna like just pedal to the metal and just kind of whipping around and just add all that heat? Yeah. So
that was a notable moment.
Yeah. I really enjoy doing that stuff. And then you know, the big straightaways, trying to dump down as many cards as you can over and over and over again. It was a good time. I really enjoyed it. I usually don't play a ton of racing games, but I'm definitely have to check out that Flamme Rouge. Apparently, it's very similar. But I really enjoyed this. I do look forward to getting it. I'm probably going to add it to my collection because it is a game that I think I can teach people at meetups because it's a relatively lightweight game, and people like racing, and it's just something I think that's a theme that people can get into. So,
agreed.
And it's more than just left-hand turns. Right.
Actually, it is all right.
Yeah, if it was a stock car game, then it would just be a bunch of ovals. Yeah. So I mean, I've made it very clear in previous videos. I really enjoy racing games, and it's not the theme. I mean, I've always really enjoyed playing racing video games. Like I've played a lot of Need for Speed. I've played a lot of Gran Turismo. I've played a lot of Forza Motorsport. So maybe that's why I like racing games so much. I don't know what it is. The theme does nothing for me. I mean, I've maybe watched the parts of the Indy 500 a few times in my life, but I'm not like, oh yeah, got to watch the Indy 500.
Yeah.
I don't really care if I watch it.
Right.
But I love this game, and I love racing. It offers so many interesting tactical decisions on every single turn. Okay, do I want to boost to try to get behind Bob and get that slipstream? Do I want to use my adrenaline instead and not put more heat out of my engine? Do I want to cool down around this turn so I can shift down and dump heat out of my deck and back into my hand? Trying to line up your car to cruise in next to or behind other players, and when to use that boost and when to use that adrenaline from being behind is such an interesting decision on every single turn. And it's multiple of those. You're like, okay, first decide if you want to use adrenaline. Okay, now decide if you want to boost. And everybody uses that opportunity to boost one at a time. So first you watch the player in first. Does he boost? Oh, he's not boosting. Okay, now the second player gets that opportunity to boost. Okay, is he boosting? Oh, he's not boosting. Now the guy in last. Oh, I'm 2 spots back. Let me use my adrenaline to sneak up behind him. Then I can slipstream around him. Right. All those decisions each turn just fascinates me with such a simple system here.
And then that gamble, like, oh, as long as I don't draw 4.
Yes. So yeah, you're getting right up to the edge of the turn.
Which happens.
You draw one of those stress cards, and you're like, oh my gosh, my speed's already at 8. I just pulled a stress card. I'm 2 slots away. Don't be a 3. Don't be a 3. Crap, it's a 3. My speed's 11, and I've got 3 heat. I spun out. Like, those decisions are so interesting.
It can make memorable moments.
This
is a game that can make memorable moments.
We were talking about this. Now, our games weren't like runaway blowout leaders.
Except for the second game.
I had a couple turns I mismanaged.
Runaway.
It wasn't terrible.
That was a few spots behind.
But I can see situations where you've got a close game coming down to the finish, and that last stress card you draw may be the difference between winning and losing. There's going to be some stand-up fist pump moments in this game.
Yeah,
I can
first
just
race
see
was
it.
very, very close.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like we were all just zooming around towards the finish line, and it was like maybe 4 spots that separated first and fourth. I got to add a few other things. The fact that this supports 6, which is a difficult player count to support, and it plays in an hour, just home run for me. Like if I can get it takes 3 minutes to set up.
Yeah, setup is quick.
It takes 4 or 5 minutes to explain.
I still feel like 6 players would lengthen the game a little bit. Though.
Yeah, it would, because you'd have a lot of slipstreaming, a lot of boosting decisions.
Well, a lot of slipstreaming means you're moving faster around the track,
True.
right?
It could.
So
Yeah, so it would go a little longer, but I don't see it
I think it would
overstaying
balance
its
itself out.
welcome
Yeah.
at
No,
all.
I don't think it'd do that.
Maybe hour 15, hour 30 at most with
Yeah.
6 players, but that's not bad.
Right.
So yeah, I have nothing but good things to say about this game. So I guess that being said, let's jump into our score.
Max Verstappen wins a Formula One Grand Prix. Yes!
Okay, now we're going to give this game a score. Andrew, do you want to tell them how we do that?
it's pretty easy. I think we just take all 3 scores and average them together, and then we have a board game rundown score that is an amalgamation of all of our scores put into one, so you don't have to deal with all of our differing opinions like you've been doing for the past 30 or so minutes.
We got our varying opinions. We're going to average our scores together. Andrew, what's your score for Heat Pedal to the Metal?
Okay, so recently I've been convicted about giving scores on BoardGameGeek.com that don't hold true to the Board Game Geek actual explanation of scoring. So I got to give it a score based on how Board Game Geek describes their numbers.
Do you, though?
I'm doing it now.
Okay. Well, I mean, you're welcome to, but go for it.
And my score is a 9.
Wow.
If I want to play a game again immediately after playing it, and I want to buy it the next day, this is Codenames level interest. This is Codenames level interest, and Codenames is one of my few, nothing will beat that game in terms of recommendations. So it gets a 9.
All right.
Bob, what about you?
I really enjoy this game. I look forward to adding it to my collection. It is an 8 for me.
Nice. Wow. I've been torn between an 8.5 or a 9. But the more I think about it, for me, it checks all the boxes. I like elegant games that don't have a ton of rules. Check. I like racing. Check. I like push your luck. Check. I like exciting finishes. Check.
You like 60s F1, baby.
I like quick setup and easy to teach games. Check. I like good, interesting tactical decisions. Check.
So it's a 9.
What? It's a 9. I can't deny that. This game is fantastic. It deserves the hype it's getting. It really does. I just can't. I don't have any negatives for this game. I don't.
So, Bob, you take 2 9s and an 8, and you average them together on your iPhone, and you get a
8.7.
8.7. It lived up to the hype.
It does.
This game is hot. This game is heat.
Yep.
It's good.
It is
It's
heat.
really good. It
Yep.
deserves its hype and the hotness that it's getting, for
Yep.
sure.
All right.
But it was made by the people who also published
I know.
Ticket to Ride.
But it's a different designer.
so I
Different
take it back.
designer.
This is a
That's
6.
fine.
And again, that
Yes, I'm
designer's
gatekeeping.
most popular game is Flamme Rouge. So this guy cut his teeth on one of the best racing games out there,
Yep.
and
Well
may
done.
have just
Keep it up.
replaced it with another of the best racing games out there. So well done to you, sir. So that being said, this has been our review of Heat Pedal to the Metal. For the Board Game Rundown, I'm Mike.
That's Bob.
I am Andrew.
I'll see you guys next time.
So will I.
Me too.
Yo, tambien.